Someone's being electrocuted, you don't want to come up and try to pull them away. What can end up happening is you can become part of that circuit because you're also touching the ground. And what can end up happening then is that there's a lot more current, right? Because now you've got two, it's like a thicker wire, and you both die. So you don't want to do that. So when you see someone being electrocuted, you want to get them as fast as possible. What you want to do is you usually want to hit them with a non-conductive material. Obviously, if you hit them with a metal bar, then you become part of that circuit. You're being electrocuted too. So you want to hit them with a non-conductive material. So a lot of times, in the old days, electricians used to have like a buddy with a 2x4, wood, because wood is not very conductive, to whack them with a 2x4 if they start getting electrocuted. So you want to grab something non-conductive. Another thing you can do is run at them and knock them away from the circuit. Because if you run at them, even if you run at them, you want to break that connection without you getting frozen. So you don't want like your wet, moist skin touching their wet, moist skin. You want to be as insulated as possible and knock them over. 2x4 is what you really want to use, something like that. Non-conductive thing to knock them out. Okay. So now we're going to just wrap it up and talk about the difference between AC and DC current. So DC current, or DC, stands for direct current, and that's pretty easy to explain. It's just electrons moving through.
Wait, so it's called
the
Washington
wire.
direct current?
Direct current. This is what DC means, direct current, and it's pretty straightforward. You've got electrons moving through the wire. AC is called alternating current, and this is actually what most of us have in our houses. And how alternating current, if you drew a chart, DC current looks something like this, over time. And alternating current is actually those electrons not just moving in one direction, they're moving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So what alternating current kind of looks like, I guess this is time and this is direction. Where is that? Time and direction. Alternating current looks like this, like that. That's the electron moving forward, then coming back to its original position, and moving backwards, and then coming back to its original position, moving forwards. Now it's moving back to its original position and moving backwards. So this is what alternating current looks more like. Now, most devices want direct current. Alternating current is cheaper. That's why we do it. They do it by fluctuating. If you think of like the battery, the giant battery that it's on back at the power company or when you think the big potential difference, they'll switch the polarity of it back and forth, and what it does is jiggle those electrons back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So what a lot of devices will do to turn the devices like direct current, so to turn this into this, what it will do is they'll have a diode that like only lets through electrons moving in one direction, or lets the moving in one direction. So it looks kind of like this, and then they will have like another diode that like reverses polarity, or sometimes they'll have like capacitors that are getting charged up and constantly discharging charge. So instead of having a pulsing, see here I just turned the alternating current into a pulsing direct current, instead it'll sort of average it out. So because of those capacitors, charging up those capacitors and having them discharge, it'll sort of average it out. Okay, and look more like this. So often devices will turn alternating current into direct current. Let's see. Now, something to remember is that, like when you talk on the phone or whatever, and you're sending a signal transfer out, the signal is going much, much faster than the conduction electrons. Like the conduction electrons are not literally going from my telephone, in landline telephones, if you remember those days. They're not going all the way down through the ground all the way to Chicago, if I'm talking to someone in Chicago. The same way, like that little conduction electron is not going super, super fast. Like the signal is going almost at the speed of light, but that little electron is not. It's the same as with sound. When I talk, the speed of sound propagating through the air is not actually that one, even though sound is created by, remember, those compression waves in the air molecules. The air molecule right near my mouth is not going across the room into her ear when I'm talking to Jenny, but the sound is getting propagated. Remember that, like that ripple effect, that compression. The wave is going much faster than the medium. And that's the similar idea with that the conduction electrons aren't actually moving super fast, but the signal is, because they are sort of transmitting that energy. The energy is going quite fast. It's the same way with like sound and with the compression wave. Okay, so I think now we come to the last equation that you will use a lot in your homework, and that has to do with power. So unless something is a superconductor, A charge moving in a circuit usually spends energy, and that energy either gets turned into heat, or that energy becomes, moves a motor or something like that. So the electric power is the current times the voltage. Okay? That is the electric power. So we can also write it as 1 watt is 1 amp times 1 volt. And remember, what is a watt? A watt is a joule per second. Okay? A watt is 1 joule of energy per second, per 1 second. Okay? So, if a lamp is rated at 120 watts and it operates on a 120 volt line, so 120 watt lamp, and it's running on a 120 volt line, how much current? It's drawing a current of 1 amp. Okay, so we can see that, right? Now, if we have a 60 watt lamp running on a 120 volt line, well, how much current is it getting? Well, we can just look at that and solve for it like algebra. It's 0.5 amps. So now, you can see how you can plug in when you have the wattage of a device and you have the voltage drop, you can figure out how much current is going through it. So similar to this guy, this is when our knowns and unknowns involve volts, resistor, and amps. But actually a lot of your devices, like if you look in the bottom, I think of almost every electrical device, it will actually give you the watts. It will say this is, a 10 watt thing, this is a, whatever watt thing. And usually devices write it in watts. And so using your watts and the voltage your house has, like between 110 and 120 volts if you live in America. I think in Europe it's like 220 volts. I don't know what other countries are, but I know we lived briefly in Europe when I was a kid, and when my mom brought devices, she had to get like a step-down transformer little thing plug in the wall, because when she brought like a radio player and things from America, she couldn't operate them in the European voltage without having a special like an extra resistor thing or whatever it was to drop the voltage, and so she would destroy all of the electronics from America. But so here, if you know the voltage of your house and you know the wattage of the thing that you're plugged in, you can calculate the current, and you calculate this to make sure you're not overloading a circuit, because on your circuit breaker box, usually you've got 15 amp circuits and 20 amp circuits. And so if you know that the voltage of your, if you live in America, it's going to be 110 to 120 volts. You will know the wattage of your devices. You have to calculate, look on the bottom of your Ninja blender or whatever it is, and it will have the wattage. And then you can calculate for the current. This is something every housewife should know. Otherwise, you can destroy stuff in the kitchen. This is something that and everyone should know, not just housewives. If you're a guy who likes to cook or play with electronics or plug things in, you need to know this so you don't keep flipping or the other way is you don't know this, you plug everything in, then something blows. I had a fridge once. I plugged too many things into a circuit, and I had a fridge that blew the circuit when I was on vacation and rotted about $300 worth of food. It was very sad. Okay, now, and I knew this, I just didn't bother to sit there and calculate it. So next time, especially if you've got a refrigerator on a circuit, look at the wattage of the other devices that you use. Okay, the reason I was gone from home and it still blew the circuit is a lot of times if you've got 2 refrigerators on a circuit, the refrigerator doesn't actually use all those watts all the time. It just uses it when the cooling pump turns on. And so what happened is I got lucky before. I had these 2 things on this one circuit, and they just happened to turn on at different times, and so it didn't blow the circuit. And then when I was on vacation, however their cycles lined up, they both turned on at the same time. It made this huge pull of current, popped the circuit breaker. I wasn't there, and then all the food rotted. Okay, so we're going to calculate money. The other thing is money. People say, don't leave the lights on, don't leave the lights on. Well, lights don't use very much, so especially if you have LED lights. Suppose I've got a super bright LED light that's only using 9 watts of power, okay? And I leave it on for 24 hours. Let's make that 10 watts, just make it easy on myself. 24 hours, so I say I have 240 watt hours. Now, power companies like to put things in kilowatt hours, So if I put 240 watt hours becomes 0.24 kilowatt hours. Kilowatt hours. And my power company in the summer charges me 14 cents per kilowatt hour. So by leaving my lamp on, my 10 watt lamp on, for 24 hours, I just spent, you can multiply that by 14 cents, 60. So that's about $2.40. No, $3. Oh, my brain has gone on vacation today. 4 times 4 is 16, 4 times 2 is 8, so that's 96, 24, 6, 3, 3. So I spent, is it really that expensive? I don't think I'm doing anything right. Am I doing something right here? 24 kilowatt hours. Oh, I forgot to put the 2 dots. Right? Kilowatt times 14 cents. Did I really? Is it really $3? Yeah, it's $3. Okay, so do turn off the lights. 0.24 kilowatt. Oh no! Because it's not even 1 kilowatt hour. Wait. It's because I was 2 dot. Okay, so I only spent 3 cents. It's really that cheap. Okay, I haven't done something right here. Well, basically, you can see I use 0.24 kilowatt hours, leaving that on 24 hours. If I run the dryer, let's see how much that uses. So if I run the dryer, I use somewhere around 5,000 watts just in 1 hour in the dryer, okay? So I run the dryer one hour, I used 5,000 watts, so that's 5,000 watt hours, so I've used 5 kilowatt hours. So running the dryer for 1 hour uses 5 kilowatt hours, where running putting on my 10 watt light for 24 hours only uses 1/4 of a kilowatt hour. Right, so this, because I forgot to do that. Sorry, I was being dumb before. So this, with 14 cents a kilowatt hour, I only spent 1/4 of 14 cents leaving my lights on for 24 hours, my 10 watt light bulb on for 10 hours, my LED 10 watt bulb. So here, I actually only spent 1/4 of 14 cents, so that's like 0.5-ish, around 5 cents. So I spent around 5 cents by leaving my 10 watt lamp on for 10 hours. However, to run my dryer once, I spent so I spent almost $1. I spent almost $1 by running my dryer just once. One cycle. 1 hour running my dryer, I spent a whole $1. Leaving my light on for 24 hours, I only spent 5 cents. So you can see how leaving the lights on, especially for LED lighting, does not use up tons of money, but things like dryers and air conditioners use scads of money. Lots of money. I mean, you think the dryer is bad? Look what the air conditioner costs. We spend, I think, $10 a day on just running, at least $10 a day, on just running our air conditioning in the summer, possibly more.
Would we die if we didn't?
And that's with us trying to keep being pretty conservative with our air conditioning. The more you turn your AC down, the more those heat pumps are running. It's like a backwards heat pump thing, like a fridge. So things that really eat energy are things that like refrigerators, space heaters, air conditioning, heating. That's the bulk of your energy usage. Having all those LED lights on does not spend. You spend like 5 cents. Okay, you can cut the lecture. End it. You're done the lecture.